With historic flooding across the region, it has brought communities to a complete standstill. But safety, of course, remains a top priority. U of L Health, the official care provider for Thunder, is helping us focus on being healthy and prepared. Joining us here with critical information about flood safety tips that we all need to know about is Dr. Aaron Kuzel and Major Mike Arth with the Anchorage Middletown Fire and EMS. Great to have you all both here. You know, this week, I don't even know where to begin. Like, it just really took a crazy turn of events. And Dr. Kuzel, I mean, first question is for you, because it really brings up the importance, and this is a public safety for everybody, to have you all on. So thank you first and foremost. But what are the most common injuries and illnesses that can occur during and even after the flooding?
Well, first we always worry about is the threat to injury and to life, which is the rapid swelling of the floodwaters can cause any kind of trauma, especially if you're pulled in a current situation, or anything that could be sharp that you're just not seeing because of how dirty the water is. You can't really see what's underneath there. So there could be wildlife, there could be sticks, sharp metal objects that you're just not seeing if you happen to be in that situation. The other thing we don't think about is the after effect. So floodwaters are notorious for having parasites and bacterial infections, so that they can infect open wounds, or if we consume them, cause significant GI upset or stomach aches, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Is it common, too, for these boil water advisories to come out of a certain flood-prone area that can contaminate the water?
Absolutely. So I would recommend to the public and our community to be safe, adhere to those boil water advisories, as the floodwaters can contaminate the things that are well waters and other things that are in the groundwater table. Further, I would recommend, if you can, drink bottled water if you have access to that, and if you can't, of course, following those boil water advisories if they're in effect in your community or county.
You know, question for both of you, because I know you come across this so much. I think people really want to get out in it. They want to get their video, right? Like, and we love to see kind of on the ground kind of, you know, journalism reports from real people, but it can be dangerous to kind of get out in that. I mean, you can really even underestimate the fact that there's still an undercurrent there. Absolutely.
Anytime there's flood water, even as it starts to recede, there's still a bigger current that's pulling back into the river. And as the main flood waters recede and the roadways open up, you're still going to have pockets of low-lying areas that are also going to have that water receding through normal channels. So it'll actually speed up the flow of that water. So it doesn't take more than a few inches, 4 to 6 inches, to sweep you off your feet. And once you're floating in the water, it's very easy to get swept away, and then only a foot of water to sweep off a normal car and have those tires lift off the ground.
And boy, have we seen the videos come in from our area, Frankfort, this county, surrounding counties all across Kentucky and Indiana. You know, what precautions should we take when we're driving in and around floodwaters?
Sure. The biggest thing is don't drive in floodwaters. It's hard to tell where the dips in the road are, or even to be able to see the road. So it's very easy to drive into a deeper spot that will cause you to get stranded or swept away on there. The other big hazard that we run into, manhole covers become dislodged. So you have the sewer system that you can get sucked into because there's a major flow in that system, because it's still being pumped, it's still moving under there. So, and you just can't see it with the muddy river water.
I know conditions are really changing rapidly as we're kind of getting into a pattern of no rain, thank God, for a while, right? But still, what do we need to do to stay up to date on all the latest closures, warnings, things like that?
Absolutely. Big thing, tune into local media. On there, however you get alerted for road closures or your situation updates. On there's also something called Lens Alert that will send out critical messages throughout the county, region, state on there for life-threatening conditions that may occur. It's another way to do it on there. And also just pay attention to your local communities, your local law enforcement, your local fire and EMS agencies. They'll always have good advice and be up to date on their local area.
I always tell people, just because the sun's out, the restaurants are open, and people are kind of going on about their business, that's our tendency. We're like, hey, all right, let's get out. It doesn't mean that all those roads are back open and that we're totally back to normal. Just take some caution. Do you recommend people to, Dr. Kuzel, have like a basic flood emergency kit, like in their home, or anything that you would recommend that they keep kind of handy there in the house.
Absolutely. So, you know, I always am an advocate for 72-hour. Even in my own house, I have a 72-hour kit, whether that includes bottled water or clean water, distilled water that we can be active, easy to access. First aid kit includes some bandages, gauze, those things of that nature. Flashlights, batteries, extra sets of batteries on that. And then one thing that we need to talk about is when we have chronic illness and have many medications, if there's significant floodwaters, luckily we're, you know, seeing that these are not having any further rain, but sometimes pharmacies can be gone and it's difficult to get medications. So if you're leaving your home or going to a shelter, especially in some of the other communities that are greatly affected, you want to make sure you keep your medications with you. And if you have extra medications, bring those with you. So if you're having to evacuate your home, have that first aid kit so that you have that water and food for the 72 hours, but also your medications that you need, because it might be a minute before you can get to a healthcare provider or primary care doctor to get those medications refilled.
Good advice. Dr. Kuzel, Major R, thank you all both for everything that you're doing. I know both overtime hours, I'm sure, but our community needs it so much right now. So thank you for keeping us safe. For more tips just like these, just head on over to uoflhealth.org.